Good evening, folks. It looks like we have some more news on Naughty Dog, and this time it's Neil Druckmann. And this is a story about how and why he fired a sexist focus tester and some of his political ideologies of where he's coming from. So he confirmed that he fired what he described as sexist focus testers. So that wasn't just one, that was multiple. This is an interview with Glixel in 2016. He was asked how Anita Sarkeesian's feminist frequency videos influenced him in regards to the development of Uncharted 4. So when I'm introducing and describing a new character to our lead character concept artist, constantly she will ask, what if it was a girl? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Let me think, does it affect or change anything? No, cool, that's different, yeah, let's do it. This is a perfectly acceptable question. What if it's a female? What if it's a male? Sure. Initially in the epilogue, it was Nate's son. Something similar happened with the mansion they go into. It was an old English guy's house. She asked, well, what if it was a woman? Druckmann then detailed that a number of the focus testers questioned the changes. You have some sexist focus testers who were really upset by Nadine beating up Nate, and really upset at the end when it was Nate's daughter. So Nate, I believe we're talking about Uncharted series here, and Nate is the protagonist. So he's essentially Indiana Jones on crack. He can do all these jumps and flips and shots. He's a survivalist. He's a sharpshooter, etc. So the concept that a younger person who's female can beat up Nate is kind of strange because we've seen him do all these amazing things. So there'd have to be some scenario where Nate is taken by surprise or he's weakened for that to make sense, because you're beating up the protagonist who has proven throughout all these games he's amazing. He's a survivalist. He can take the hit. He can do all these crazy things, and then he has his daughter who could just beat him up. So maybe it's because he doesn't want to hit his daughter, or they're play fighting. I don't know the context, but clearly something caused people to flip out about this. He went on to confirm that he fired at least one of the focus testers for providing their feedback to the point where we had to ask one guy to leave. In his core, it just affected him. He was cursing, not you too, Naughty Dog, god damn it. I guess I'm done with Uncharted. If you guys ever make another one with his daughter, this effing bullshit. So, probably not the best constructive criticism, but it clearly shows that this person and others were not happy with the choices they made. So we don't know exactly I don't know the context of Nate's daughter beating Nate up. I don't know what that means. We have to see that clip. But it's, I don't know if this was a summer job. This could have been a 2-day thing. Could have been a week thing. It's a focus tester is not specifically a QA tester or a beta tester. It's a specific information gathering task or job. So that's probably why this person had that kind of reaction. Because if they were a QA person, they probably wouldn't say that to the person in charge, nor would they write up a ticket in whatever system they're using. It's like, oh yeah, this is really crap. Let me swear it all out. That would get you fired anywhere. So probably a summertime gig. So there are rumors. I did read about these, but they were just rumors that Naughty Dog employees are in fear of losing their jobs if they criticize the story for the upcoming The Last of Us Part 2. And as we heard, there are bonuses that should be delivered to people 6 months after release of the game. Either some sort of royalty scheme, I don't know. But that could be part of it. So if they do lose their jobs, they could lose their royalty options. The team is very much divided on the game, and even voicing your concerns on its story will upset certain individuals. It usually results in said person being called closed-minded or even phobic or some such nonsense. Some people literally have to bite their tongues or fear losing their jobs, even careers, to an outraged mob. Now, to me, that sounds like someone in the writer's room saying we should do X, Y, Z, and then someone else saying, no, you can't do that. That's transphobic or homophobic or whatever. That's not writing. That's not a healthy writing environment. A writer about a survival story should be able to play with all sorts of ideas that are brutal and perhaps sexual, perhaps violent. So these ideas should all be open, and you should be free to say them, or else you're going to get this horrible narrative that's very close-minded and very one-directional. You don't want that. Obviously, you have to put boundaries on your writers, but why have boring characters? Why have one-dimensional characters? Why not have characters who are sexist, who are homophobic, who are this or that? That would be totally logical and believable in a world where this sort of thing might happen, where all justice and laws are gone and everyone's struggling to survive again. That would make sense. But you can't do that. You can't do it in a survival story, apparently, even though that would make quite a lot of sense. So anyway, Druckmann posted recently a quote to Instagram. And here he posts Kurt Cobain, where Kurt Cobain says, if you hate homosexuals or people of color or women, please leave us alone. Don't come to our shows and don't buy our records, which is very similar to what we heard about some people of writing various other sorts of movies or comics or games. If you're a white male of some sort, don't buy our product. And that resulted in those productions not turning much profit, if at all, and ultimately not being able to make any more. So not a very good thing to say. Never a good thing to alienate your audience, even if Kurt Cobain is saying it. Okay? If you're an artist, you're there to provide a service or product. And you're there to bring joy to people, whether you're a chef, whether you're a musician, whether you're a visual artist. You're there to create something delicious, something beautiful, something inspirational. Not something ugly, not something to preach down to someone, not something to scream at them and tell them they're wrong or disgusting or pathetic. They want to be uplifted by art. They want to learn something. They want to be excited by art. And any artist saying that probably isn't worth your time. So apparently Druckmann has blamed misogyny for why one of his games failed. At the IGDA Association, or IGDA in 2013, Druckmann explained the reason the game failed, that one of his ideas, and it was because of a misogynistic idea. So let's just hear one of his concepts of a pitch for a game.
And the first project we started moving forward on was called Mankind. And the idea is very similar to what you've seen in The Last of Us, that the cordyceps has jumped from insects to people. And the people it infects, it can kind of create monsters or kill them. But the twist, the thing that was different about this idea, was that it only infected women. And you found the one girl that it didn't infect, and that was Ellie. And you kind of protected her and tried to bring her to this lab where they were kind of finding a cure. And there were a lot of things that we were really excited about this idea, but ultimately it failed. And the reason it failed is because it was a misogynistic idea.
No, it didn't fail because it was misogynistic. It's because whoever pitched it didn't sell it or didn't like it or no one agreed upon it. That sounds almost identical to the scenario or plight of Children of Men movie, where women just can't get pregnant. And then there's one woman who can get pregnant. And they try to get her and bring her to safety so they can solve the problem. So this is essentially the same issue. It jumps to women. All the women are getting monsterfied, and one woman can't, or one woman isn't. So they have to save her and bring her to somewhere safe. That's not a misogynistic idea. That has nothing to do with hatred toward women or hatred toward men or people or culture. It's just the mechanics of the scenario. What a strange thing to say. How do you even think that way? Just because you have a virus that only infects men or women. That's like any typical zombie infestation story. Everyone has a certain twist on how zombies are created. It's not an amazing twist, but it's nothing inherently good or bad. It affects women. It doesn't. Wow. Why would a virus, how could a virus hate women? Does that make any sense? Even if it was bioengineered to attack only women, you would have to then explain the people who made the virus hated women for some strange reason. And then it wouldn't be misogynistic. It would be this they want to eliminate, I don't know, people in a certain area. Like there's all kinds of reasons to write a story like that, which are non-misogynistic.
What are the things that she's going to be kind of really attracted to and attached to as she grows up? And as a game creator, I look around at kind of what we are making and what are going to be her role models from the stories.
Okay, so Aiko, there's a silent female secondary character that you're constantly protecting, and you're a younger boy who or younger male who has to go around protecting her. That's damsel in distress right there. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of a cute story actually, with a silent or a character who speaks in a different language, and you're getting around trying to save each other through a series of puzzles. Sin City, well, that's a pretty brutal story by Frank Miller. I think it's a story about the murder of a hooker, and I can't quite read the other one there.
And I don't like what I see. More specifically, I'm talking about our female characters. And whether we want to admit it or not, these are role models.
Whether or not you like a character determines whether or not they're role models, not the fact that you think they're role models. If I don't like Superman, I'm not going to try to emulate him. If I don't like whatever character in a story, I don't care. I don't want to emulate that. It's basic as that. Now, if you're talking about attractive female characters, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with looking at these people and being attracted to them visually by itself. The point is, you're attracted to a character for a reason. And visuals are one of the simplest things to be attracted to, whether it's aesthetics, whether it's sexuality, whether it's the way they sound, the way they walk, the way they talk. That's an easy thing to attract the audience. And we all get it. Aesthetics lends itself to sex or to health. The health of a person leads itself to attractiveness. So imagine if Quiet was obese, or a robot AI was obese, or I'm not sure who that is specifically was obese. It looks like she's in a fighting game. Would that be attractive? Probably not. There are some obese fighting characters. I can think of two in Street Fighter, and one of them is obese. Specifically, that's his diet. He's a sumo wrestler. So we're talking about Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter series. That's an actual discipline. That's a fighting style. So there's not too many obese, healthy people who are in fighting tournaments, if you haven't noticed. They tend to be rather strong and nimble, very defined, sometimes exaggerated musculature. And as for AI, I mean, it's AI. Would you rather have an unattractive AI to look at and sound like? No, you'd want a chirping voice in your head to be elegant and clear and beautiful, like a woman's. Whether she looks that way or not is irrelevant to me, but I don't know why this design is this way. As for Quiet, her design is the wacky mind of Hideo Kojima. In one game, an old male was covered all in army fatigues, and he could breathe through his skin. In this one, it's a younger woman who needs to breathe through her skin and can't wear anything. Is it silly? It's silly, but it's the Japanese, and they have crazy imaginations, and I'm happy they can do it. Plus, she's called Quiet because she doesn't speak, and it's all about the plot and story within Metal Gear Solid 5. So there's more to Quiet than just visuals. But, visuals help. Having an attractive female secondary character helps us like her more. It's that easy. It's that simple. So there are reasons for why she dresses the way she is and why she sounds the way she does. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with attractive female or male characters. Male audiences like female characters. So do female characters. They like looking at attractive people. Like, what a concept. Males like looking at males because they're strong and masculine, as do women. Why wouldn't a woman like looking at an attractive male? Why wouldn't a man like looking at an attractive female? Heterosexual or otherwise. Why can't we all appreciate beauty? What is wrong with these three women? I see nothing wrong with them. This is a little exaggerated because it's a fighting game. It's supposed to be flashy. That's the context of the design. We know not everyone knows, but the design of quiet is for multiple reasons. Cortana, I don't know. I'm not a Halo guy. But I see nothing wrong with having an AI look attractive when it's a non-living being. Why not make a non-living organism more human by making them visually and audially more attractive? Would you rather have Cortana be unattractive, sound horrible, give bad ideas, be ineffective, be broken, not work half the time, and look unappealing? No. You want to identify with the character as quickly as possible, and visuals are one way to do that. I've been ranting a bit long about this, but let's keep going about Neil Druckmann.
And yet we sexualize, we objectify, we marginalize, and we reduce.
There's nothing wrong about sexualizing people. Sexuality is a good, healthy thing. That is an ideal to strive for. If everyone got more exercise and ate more responsibly and looked and felt better, that is a good thing. And if you want to call that sexualization or objectification, I don't care. If it gets people out of their chair to do a few stretches every day, to eat well every day, great. Demonize it all you want. It looks good. It's good for you. Everyone will say exercise is good for you. Everyone will say eating right is good for you. Getting proper sleep is good for you. And you know what the results of that is? Looking healthy, looking like these women. Maybe not the one on the last one, but again, it's exaggeration. That's totally fine. Michelangelo did it. Leonardo da Vinci did it. Every artist has some degree of exaggeration when they depict the human body for a good reason.
These female characters a lot less than they can be. And this is coming from a guy that almost made a really misogynistic game.
Again, he's saying he himself is misogynistic because he almost did it, which is ridiculous. How far down the rabbit hole has this fellow gone that he can't see how ridiculous his ideas are? Well, we'll find out really soon. Here we go.
So I kind of know what I'm talking about. So once this thing failed and I had this awakening, almost exactly at the same time, this Kickstarter happened about the tropes versus women in video games. And while you might argue with the way it delivers its message or whether every point is exact, you can't argue with just the pattern that you see in the industry.
The patterns for tropes, whether they are for women or men or otherwise, have been happening for thousands and thousands of years. They're not going away. They can change slightly, they can be added to, but they're not going away. When we think of women in distress, the damsel in distress, the most famous one, there's a reason why that exists. As much as I love The Princess Bride, I don't think to myself, what if Princess Buttercup was smart? That would be more interesting, I admit. What does Wesley see in Princess Buttercup aside from her visuals? I don't know. If you read the Princess Bride or Buttercup's Baby, the book, Princess Buttercup is really stupid. Now, she's pretty much an airhead in both stories, but she's really dumb in the books. And why Wesley loves her and why she loves him is kind of questionable. But it's not about her as a likable character, nor is it about Wesley being a likable character. The point is they're in love. They're not only in love, they're truly in love, whatever that means. And the mystical nature of that relationship is the key part. Not why. The fact that they're both together is the premise of the whole story, where all this thing begins. So even though she's reduced to a damsel in distress, doesn't take away that she plays a key role. She is the whole point of Wesley's plight. To come back from where he came, to get her, to save her, to live with her, to be happy with her. He'll do anything for her. It doesn't matter if she's only attractive. She's actually pretty funny because she's a bit of a dunce. But that doesn't matter because it's not what the story's about.
So I was really intrigued by this. The videos for the video games hadn't come out yet, but I watched the rest of Anita's videos, and I realized it's not just a problem in games, it's actually throughout entertainment.
So it's not a problem with entertainment, it's a pattern. These tropes, for the majority, tropes are neither negative or positive. They're just there. They're part of our history. They're part of our culture. They're part of our storytelling. Anita thinks it's bad because women need to be empowered. But when you empower women, they're not powerful enough. You have to then hate on men and make them weaker. And that's the only way apparently women can succeed. It's just a strange, stupid philosophy. And this is the guy who believes in this nonsense. Neil Druckmann, everyone. And here's the example of Elizabeth Banks talk about why Charlie's Angels bombed. She said, look, people have to buy tickets to this movie. This movie has to make money. If this movie doesn't make money, it reinforces a stereotype in Hollywood that men don't go see women to do action movies. No. There's other reasons why they didn't want to see your movie. But it's probably because you didn't appeal to men in the first place. They'll go see a comic book movie with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel because that's a male genre. The male genre? Okay. So even though those are movies about women, they put them in the context of feeding a larger comic book world. So it's all about, yes, you're watching a Wonder Woman movie, but we're setting up 3 other characters or we're setting up Justice League. Now, that could be true, that could be false, but there's obvious reasons why Wonder Woman did well and Captain Marvel did well or didn't do so well. Anyway, thanks for having me listen to my rant about Neil Druckmann and art. Always nice to get this off my chest, and always nice to learn about the firestorm that will come when The Last of Us gets released. I'd like to see it do well, as I like to see most games do well for all the right reasons, but I'd like to see the criticism be honest about what this game is about and why it failed or why it's going to do well. I want to have true, honest understanding what happened. But we can see the writing on the wall from the ideology of Neil Druckmann firing people he disagrees with, maybe justified, and agreeing with crazy people who should not have a voice in the first place when it comes to art. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great evening.